Yes, welcome to College Talk Tuesday. We are back with another episode where we talk about college stuff, college financial aid, college scholarships, getting into college, essays, applications, you name it. There's this massive sort of swirl, hurricane-like or tornado-like that seems to afflict parents of juniors and seniors, in particular this time of year. A lot of pressure on high school seniors who are entering into crunch time as they finalize their applications and their essays, and the financial aid applications open up in less than a couple of weeks, right? October 1st.
Yep.
The FAFSA.
No.
The FAFSA.
No.
What?
The FAFSA.
Free application for federal student aid. FAFSA.
Nice.
Opens up, plenty of people say it the wrong way. Not moi. And that was a little satire. Yeah. So that comes out. So there's a lot to talk about. Before we get into all that stuff, I want to talk a little bit about some returning kids. These are last year's seniors, not necessarily ones that we're going to name by name or indicate that we know, but there's this phenomenon every year, sort of a college boomerang, where kids go off to school in August, and then they are somehow very unhappy. They don't like the way the reality looks compared to what their romanticized versions of what college was going to look like.
Right.
And we've heard about a couple of kids who are either coming home or came home, want to come home. So
You mean kids who just started? Yes,
Yeah.
we have some kids who just started, and we've seen
not just our kids. I mean, these are also in the community, not in the community.
Right,
different.
of course. And we've seen all types, all situations within that continuum. We've seen kids come home after a week and stay home
Because
unhappy,
yeah,
and the parents honestly.
we know one kid who came home after a day
Right. Yep, we do.
under mysterious circumstances.
Anyhow, so
Mysterious to some people.
well, I guess it's good to know. A week, a day, it's probably a little soon and perhaps a little rash to make a judgment.
And what's interesting also, by the way, this is something you were talking about this morning at about 6, the parent reactions.
Well, that's what, yeah, exactly. That's what in terms of the continuum we have, right. Someone
Not just
from
kids.
last year kid came home after a week, parents acquiesced to it and allowed the kids to come home, and that was one set of circumstances, and we have another situation.
What happened, by the way? What happened to that child?
She ended up going to a local school, living at home, which, that just wasn't her plan. She was going someplace else. All of the schools on her list were having her not live at home and being involved in an on-campus living experience.
Hey, God plans,
So-
man laughs.
Exactly.
Man plans, God laughs.
Yes. A lot of laughing.
Mächtig göttlich.
Okay. And we did hear of
Thank
somebody who came home after a week this year, but I was happy to hear that this student's parents said, "Nah, head back,"
Right.
and
Beat it.
like the
Yeah.
scene in 16 Candles when you had the boy
at the
who was
dance?
trying to not go to the dance, and the parents are shoving the kid back into the gym door, saying, "But I want to stay with you guys." Yeah, well, you got to be a parent, and you got to, job is to teach your kid how to live independently of you, even if you have your own emotional needs that may not be satisfied when you are separating from your kid. We get it.
Yeah. So how do you prevent that? So that's always something we talk about, and a lot of times I think things get a little skewed because this whole process of applying to college, selecting a college list, you can do it a couple different ways. And I had a client say this to me. Actually, it wasn't a client. It was a guy who I was meeting with at a networking group. His question about all that was, well, when you apply to college, who's driving the bus? Is it the kid only? Or do parents have some say, or do parents have most of the say, and the kids are, at the back of the bus, whatever. And I think that a lot of this has to do with that concept of you've got to set expectations early on. In terms of, I was talking to a client today.
In terms of many, many things.
Many things. I'll give you an example. Today I was talking to a client about applying early decision, and I said, well, listen, you can actually, not too many people know, but you can actually get out of your early decision commitment, but only if you get in first and then you get a financial aid offer that you and you alone, in your own discretion, decide is not adequate, then you can get out of it. That's actually written in the agreement. So what she said was, yeah, but that's heartbreaking. You know, I don't want to have my, you know, which I agree with. I don't want to have my kid get her hopes up and finally get into the dream school that she was striving for, which is a whole other discussion. You know, why is that your dream school?
Based on what?
Exactly. But anyway, shelving that for this episode. You know, I said, well,
all right.
Yeah. So that could be a 2-hour after-school special, possibly. So I said, yeah, well, that's a very real part of it, and the only way you can really, you know, kind of gird yourself to deal with that is by saying ahead of time, look, yes, you can apply an early decision, but the money really has to work out. Otherwise, I can't afford to send you there. Which is, of course, why that out clause exists.
Right. So now, just to
not a lot of parents do that.
to give you an analogy, so then where does the conversation go from there? Well, it's not that different if you're taking your 3-year-old into a supermarket and you want to go down the candy aisle and insist that the kid only have fruit. I would probably start at the produce aisle and just stick with the produce aisle if you're bringing a 3-year-old and you don't want that conflict, that discussion. Okay, so what I'm suggesting here is that you take control of the conversation and the lay of the land and what you choose to expose your kid to a lot sooner before you're at that point in the process where you've picked something that may be so not real, in touch with your finances or the student's academics or what have you, something that is disconnected to reality, some form of it. And you as a parent do have control, believe it or not, if you choose to take that control, take it back perhaps, over that vision.
When's the last time you saw our son Harry eating a piece of fruit?
By accident?
Yeah, right. It's a good analogy, though.
Yeah. Full of them.
Okay. But he seems pretty healthy.
Yeah.
All right. So
with a vegetable.
So that's one of these like easier said than done types of bits of advice.
Right. But what does that mean?
And it's well, people watching this generally are parents, not kids.
Right.
That's a whole other thing. But that's you just have to, even though it may seem a little unpleasant. Trust me, it's a lot less unpleasant than the worst case scenario, which might be getting in. That actually could be the worst case scenario.
Right.
We've had kids come home after 1 week at their early decision school also.
Right.
That turned out to be not the dream college that they had hoped.
Exactly. You have to, and that goes back to understanding and analyzing. Well, what went into this student's decision that this is in fact the dream school? Was it because so and so's friend who's pretty goes there and that's why, and her car looks awesome with the sticker on it? Well, that could be a reason. Yeah.
Or a good feeling. Got a good feeling.
I just got a really good feeling when I walked on the campus that.
Yep.
Okay.
Anyway, okay. So let us segue out of the life coaching and into a little bit of visual tapping now. So I know you're working with a lot of clients who are submitting their information to you. The FAFSA, Free Application for Federal Student Aid, and the CSS Profile, which is another form that many, not all, schools require. Those come out in a matter of weeks. There is no, sometimes, and I actually have a meeting in the office Thursday with a client who has, what?
Go ahead.
What? What do you think I'm going to say?
Continue.
You have no idea what I'm going to say.
No, I know.
I hate when you do this. I feel so emasculated. This financial aid season, I'm sticking up for myself. Okay?
You go, girl. I mean, you go, Andy.
Girls, probably, yeah. So, no, so she unfortunately, she received some insurance proceeds when a family member passed away, and she's about to apply to college, and her daughter, her son, and she's got money in the wrong places, and she said, is there a look-back period? Is it possible for me to improve my eligibility, even though we're a few weeks away from filing? And I said, no, there's actually no look-back period. So that might be something that anyone watching might avail themselves of, and they can always just pop a comment in. If you have any comments about, or questions, I guess, pop them in the comment section. please share this with anyone who's about to tackle the financial aid forms. We just finished off a special 20% discount that we may, if we're feeling charitable, we may open that back up to some Facebook audience members, our vast audience. So anyway, so that's happening. So any observations or tips about the financial aid, FAFSA, FSA ID, blah, 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 blah?
Okay. Well, as we've discussed, the financial aid forms become available October 1st, both the FAFSA and the CSS profile. And that means at that point you can begin to complete and file the financial aid forms to the schools that you're applying to. Which forms are required? Well, you need
Which forms are required?
Hey, you need to go on your school's website that you're looking at, and each school's website, and see what forms they're requiring for specifically this year, because that can change year to year. And the other thing you need to look at when you're finding out the date, you need to see which is your priority financial aid deadline. Priority financial aid deadline will correlate with the way that you are applying to that school. So if you are applying early action to a school, then you will have one priority financial aid deadline, which may or may not be the same as the application deadline, so pay attention. And of course, if you are applying regular decision, you may have a different one. Each school is different. There can be similarities, but you need to really be vigilant about what the specific requirements are at the school you're looking at.
Yep. All right. So it's very easy to get all this stuff like slipped through the cracks, lost in the shuffle or whatever. You have to be uber vigilant, like Pearl was saying, because it sneaks up on you. You have to make sure that you're sending your forms to every school that's on your list. If you add a school later, you got to make sure that that school also will receive the financial aid forms.
You got to remember to do both.
Yeah. So that's a big mistake that throws a lot of people off when they wake up a few months later. They don't get a financial aid award, and that's because they never applied.
Right. And or what happens when you submit the financial aid forms, that action then triggers each of the schools you filed financial aid forms to prepare an award letter for your student. And along with that, and that timeline is generally, if you've applied early action, you could get feedback as early as end of December, beginning of January. If you've applied regular decision, the timeline, although they've attempted to make the awards come in sooner, but we've pretty much still seen them come in end of March and April.
Last year, yeah. See what happens this year.
Right. So, yeah, because they did have some kerfuffles last year with the IRS DRT, but we don't need to talk about last year.
Kerfuffle, DRT, FAFSA.
Yeah.
FSA ID.
A lot of lingo.
FASCA. Like Fresca.
Like Fresca.
Yeah. So just you have to stay on top of everything. When you're sending out your applications, make sure you stay on top of your guidance counselor, because they too need a list of. Likewise, if you then later add a college, make sure you notify your guidance counselor so that they can in turn send the transcripts off to that school.
Okay, and then along those lines, we're going to just inch back into the life coaching.
Yes. Always room for that.
You know, there is the way things should happen.
Yeah.
And I've come to learn that the lands of should doesn't really exist. There's a land that is.
There's planet
Earth.
Earth.
Sometimes should, right. There's
planet Earth, and then.
Sometimes things happen the way they should, but most of the time, they don't.
By the way, I didn't tell you, I had a really funny conversation with my mom today, and she was talking about another family member who's very thrown off by everything.
Oh.
And she's and today the question was, it's cloudy. It wasn't supposed to be cloudy today.
Right. I hate when they do you like that.
Right.
Imagine.
So you can't be like that in the college process.
Well, right, because I will tell you at the outset, not even just you should have gotten in. You will see. This is not even a maybe. You will have schools, after you know that you have filed the financial aid forms for, that will come and say, it's missing, or it'll be either on their portal. You get a frightening email. You are missing this. You are missing that, and you're like, but I have the receipt. I did it. I'm looking at it. Okay, just know that that's going to happen.
And what do?
Just relax, take a breath,
and
call up, contact the school, and sort it out. You'll either provide them the proof of it, which if you have filed any financial aid form, there is a receipt, a document, a printed PDF that you can produce, that you could always supply the school, because you know what? School financial aid offices are made up of human beings and who are busy, and the human's effort and where the computer's at and the dissemination of blast emails are not necessarily connected. And anyhow, don't get nuts.
Right. Even if you did apply and they say you didn't, that doesn't mean that you're right, they're wrong. Even though that is accurate, it just means you have to go ahead and resend them the info.
Correct.
That's all.
Don't get freaked. Don't get angry.
And if you don't get into a certain school, which I started to talk about, that may be because you don't really understand the whole process. Just because you have great grades and scores doesn't guarantee that you're going to get into a school that you should get into, because your agenda or your opinion of what the school's agenda should be may not actually jibe with what the school's actual agenda is. So there's a lot of stuff that has to do with getting good kids with grades and scores, and there's all sorts of other institutional agendas that have to do with, are we admitting enough minority students, enough international students? Do we have enough legacies? Kids whose parents went here, so on and so forth. Those all come into play. You don't see them in the actual admissions statistics that get published, like we admitted 5% or 25% of our students, but they are inherent, buried in there. So that's why a lot of kids get blindsided when they think, okay, well, my grades and scores are right in the middle, I have a good shot, but those special categories, which is not politically correct, but those special categories tend to drag down those averages. So in effect, what you're comparing yourself against is a false universe of kids. You need to be significantly higher than the median to feel good about your chances of getting in. Plus, do what it takes to look good on paper in terms of extracurriculars and all that. So we do all sorts of webinars and stuff about that. And live workshops. So we're about to start up our live workshop season.
All right. And
that schedule is posted on our website, collegeplanningGuru.com. I don't know if you can pop into comments. Maybe I can do that. I'll do that right now. And we have some local ones. I'm going to be. I'm saying because I'm trying to get Pearl to come, but she's always iffy. We're going to be in Seacliff. We are going to be in Seacliff at the end of this month. We're going to be in Manhasset. We're going to be in Hop Hog, and we're going to continue to do some webinars also, just to sprinkle things up, liven things up, and sprinkle them in a little bit, because that's what we do for fun around here.
And we're not kidding.
Yeah. Fact-based, sad but true. Okay. Anything else before we wrap up? Another exciting episode of College Talk Tuesday?
I think this was a good one.
All right. You want to rip anyone a new one, or rant, or anything?
Probably,
or
but
off the air, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. She can. She will. All right, good. Well, thanks for watching. We'll be back next week. If you have a question, we'll answer them. Please share with the schedule of workshops and some other free information. We have a lot of freebies. We have a free report, the College Consumer Guide. I don't know if you're aware. First best-selling book that we cranked out, and more. It's worth a look. Definitely. All right. Bye.
Bye.